Hey guys, David here, Central Cal Piper. Been a few days since I've done a video, so I thought I would do one this afternoon. First of all, smoking my King Tut Meerschaum pipe with some Watch City Persian slipper, which I really like. I'd heard of this tobacco before, but was reminded again of it when I was watching Professor Jeremiah in one of his videos, his Pith Helmet Matinee. I was actually able to get in on a bit of that a few weeks ago during my lunch break when I was still smoking my pipe in my car. I just happened to be there at the right time. He sent me an invite, so I get to be part of it. Although really, the only thing I did was kind of sit there smoking my pipe while he, Three Rivers Piper, and a couple of other guys were talking. But it was a neat experience because I'd seen some of those from the past and thought it was really neat. Anyway, coming to you from my garage. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I've got my mic on. I've got my little evaporative cooler thing going here in front of me because it's over 100 degrees outside and not too bad in here really. But for today's video, I thought I would do something a little different. Back around Christmas, my son Spencer and his wife Jessica bought an online kind of a subscription deal, I guess, but it's called, what's it called? I want to say Storyboard, but I know that's not it. Anyway, it's basically an app that, or a website that you can reflect. It asks you questions, basically, and it's called Storyworth. That's right. Anyway, so it sends you a weekly question, and you're supposed to answer it online. And at the end of the year, they put it into a book format, and then they print it off and send it to you. So basically, I've been answering some of the questions in the book, but I thought I would maybe do some videos that kind of match up to those. That way, in the future, I guess after I'm gone to my eternal reward, hopefully, then these can be watched by my family. They can reflect back upon my wisdom and great humor. Just kidding with that, of course. Hope you know that. But anyway, so I've got these questions that I thought I would answer in a video. So I thought about making a whole new channel called Dad Questions, but at this point, I'm just going to do them as part of my regular channel, and I'll keep thinking about whether or not I want to do a separate channel for these questions. But some of the questions, for instance, are things like, how did you decide when to change jobs? Or what famous or important people have you ever met? Or how did you celebrate your 21st birthday? So, starting with a couple of those, I guess. This question was initially from May the 1st. I'm a little behind. It was, how did you decide when to change jobs? So, I've written this out, but just to have a video version of it, I'll kind of reflect on that question. Basically, in the different jobs that I had, most of the time, I decided to change jobs when something better came along. Either an increase in pay, or the working conditions were better, or the job was more interesting. So most of the time, though, it was related to pay. If it paid more, I would take that job. The exception would be once when I was working as a custodian here in town for a school district. I'd been there for about 5 years. It was a good job to go through college with. I needed to finish college. My wife and I decided to move to Fresno to go to a small Christian college up there, so I had to quit the job. That's the only time I really quit a job to relocate. But so I guess for the most part, just changed jobs when the money was better or the conditions were better, something like that. Okay. The next question on May the 8th was, what famous or important people have you encountered in real life? Well, I haven't really encountered that many famous people. However, I have met a couple, or at least people that I thought were important or famous in the day. The first one, I was a young boy. I'd gone with my grandfather to the local airport called Meadows Field, and I was waiting with him for I think we were picking up an uncle of mine from somewhere. He'd flown in, we were going to fly into town. And all of a sudden, my grandpa looked at me and said, "Do you see that guy over there?" I looked. I saw some guy. And my grandpa said, "That's Pat Boone." Well, when I was a kid, I don't think I had a clue as to who Pat Boone was. My grandpa encouraged me to go get his autograph. So, like a good grandson, I walked up to the man and asked if I could have his autograph. And he said, "Sure." So he wrote his name on a piece of paper and gave it to me. And that was it. I took it back. My grandpa was pretty happy. And he said to me, "Did he have white shoes on?" And I didn't really look for any white shoes. I didn't realize the significance of Pat Boone and his white buckskin shoes that he was famous for in the 50s, I guess the 60s. Well, this would have been mid-70s, so I don't know if he had them on. I'll never know. But anyway, I got his autograph. So Pat Boone, number one autograph, famous person that I met. Famous person number two, a few years later. You guys probably remember Happy Days. At that time, that was my favorite show ever. I was probably in the 5th grade, and I just thought the show was really neat. I knew it was from the good old days, the 50s, the time when my mom went to high school and all that. It seemed like a million years in the past, although at that time it was probably only about 20 years ago in the past from that time. Well, that show was really good. I liked it a lot. I found somehow that one of the actors from that show, Anson Williams, anyone remember that name? He played Patsy Weber. Anyway, I thought it was a big deal because Patsy Weber was coming to Bakersfield. He was going to be at our local mall, the Valley Plaza, so on a Saturday afternoon. So I managed to get my mom to take me and a buddy to Valley Plaza so we could see Anson Williams. So we got out there Saturday afternoon, big crowd. Well, it seemed big at the time, probably mainly girls. I don't remember, but there he was, Patsy Weber. But it was kind of weird because I expected him to be in 1950s clothing like he was in the show. But instead, he had these weird, funky 70s clothes on. And he had this like driving cap kind of thing, was puffy looking. It was made out of jean material, like in patches, patchwork cap of some sort. So I thought that was really kind of strange. However, I did manage to get his autograph picture. I remember even putting it on my wall for a while, so I was impressed. I got to meet Patsy Weber. That was person number two. I can barely do that. This finger here, if I use that, it's an old oil field injury. It was crushed, so it's forever bent. Right? Anyway, I used to complain about not being able to dial a phone correctly. That's no longer an issue, but back then it was. So that was famous person number two. Famous person number three was also a show called Little House on the Prairie, which I really liked a lot. So there was an actress from that show. She played one of the least likable characters on TV at that time. She was Nellie Olson. Her name was Allison Arngrim. Anyway, I found out somehow that she was going to be at Pioneer Village, our local museum. They had a thing called Pioneer Days where people would dress up like cowboys. There were horses around, guns, all the fun stuff that they don't do any longer, of course. But back then, Nellie Oleson was going to be there. And although I didn't like her character, I was so fascinated that someone from one of my favorite shows at the time was going to be at Pioneer Village. So me and a buddy of mine, we lived pretty close to Pioneer Village. Only a river separated us from the town that I lived in at the time, Oildale, and this museum was in Bakersfield, which was just right across this river. There's a bridge, but my buddy and I, Travis, we walked down the railroad tracks, up over a river, on a railroad trestle, hiked down to Pioneer Village just in time to see Nellie Oleson. So she was there. She was in a parade. She was in an old car of some sort, like a Model T or something. She was in the back seat, waving to the crowd, giving that famous, Hollywood kind of wave. Well, my friend and I were looking at her, and we were kind of impressed. And then she smiled, and when she smiled, she had this pink goop on her teeth. It was like her whole face, like she'd been chewing on red vines or something. So her whole smile was this gelatinous pink-looking smile. It kind of freaked us out. I remember thinking, I don't know what's wrong with her, but something definitely is. That was person number 3. I can't think of anyone else famous that I've ever met. That's not saying a whole lot. I've seen famous people in concerts, but I've never met. Of course, I didn't meet her either, or I probably didn't even meet Patsy Weber. So anyway, I guess I didn't meet any of those people, but I saw them. I was within a few feet from Patsy. Pat Boone, I guess I met. I did meet him, Mr. Pat Boone, who's still alive. I don't know how old he is. He must be close to 100. Anyway, those are my stories for this episode. I covered 2 questions. I hope you enjoy them. If not, just skip on by. All right. God bless y'all. Talk to you soon.